Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2007 Saturn Aura XR. Up front is a 3.6 liter V6, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Saturn Aura for many reasons. It is a Saturn product. It is one of the final Saturn products. This car saw out the end of Saturn through 2009. This is also the XR trim level, meaning this was the top of the line high performance version of the Saturn Aura. I've never driven a Saturn Aura here on the channel, so we're remedying all of that here today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. If you'd like to see all my videos early, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. And huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for letting me borrow their Saturn Aura here today. More info on them towards the end, but if you'd like to browse their inventory, you can do so in the description below. But let's get back to that 3.6 liter V6. Well, you could get a 4-cylinder in the Aura. This was the bigger one. This is a huge engine, and it definitely offers that nice torque. I miss older GM cars of this era because they always had some type of sporty offering. Similarly, the Pontiac G6 could be had with this 3.6 liter or even a 3.9 liter V6. Nowadays, the Chevy Trailblazer, for instance, either has a 1.2 or 1.3 liter. There's no real option for someone that wants that extra power around town. But back in 2007, there was, and this is it. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic. Now, this was actually the first GM car to get this specific transmission, this front-wheel drive 6-speed, although it's spread to a lot of other GM vehicles. And it's nice to see that they were moving away from the 4-speed. The Pontiac G6 at the time and earlier still had a 4-speed automatic. This got the bigger, nicer 6-speed. Last but not least, of course, the Saturn Aura is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the Saturn Aura? Well, the downside is the ride. The ride's a little bit rough, but visibility is good. And like I said, power... you can put your foot down and you're gonna go. I mean, it's not a rocket ship. It's not the fastest thing in the world. The skin isn't peeling off my face, but it's quick for what it is. This is a Saturn and it's relatively fast. So I like that a lot, and I love the power from the V6. That just dwarfs any other comparison you can make. The ride quality might not be great. The steering might not be the tightest circle I've ever seen, but that V6 wipes the slate clean with everything else. That's a really nice feeling. Here we go, in the wet. A little bit of torque steer. It'll wet your whistle. As it starts to now openly downpour. It's there. It's, you know? I like that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel and coolant temperature. On the steering wheel, we do have our cruise control off to the left and our volume, skip track, and voice commands off to the right. However, this was the standard steering wheel that was in pretty much every GM product of the era. We also, for the first time, have somewhat paddle shifters. Very strange. You can put it down into manual and then shift with paddle shifters. Not something I would have expected out of a Saturn. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, gauge dimmer switch, foot pedal adjustments, and fog lights, as well as some nice wood trim and an openable cubby, which could hold, in theory, the wallet key. So in the 90s and into the 2000s, Saturn would give you a wallet key. Theoretically, you could put this into your wallet, and so if you lost your key, forgot your key, something happened, you would have a way to get into and start your vehicle. I've never had the privilege of holding one and using one, and so here it is. Very cool, and you could put that in that little cubby, or keep it in your wallet for safekeeping. But moving back into the car, off to the left, we do have our mirror adjustments up on the A-pillar. Latch you get in and out, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get 2 climate control vents with the hazard switch up top, and the traditional GM radio that we saw in everything from Chevy, Pontiac, Saab, GMC, and even Cadillac got this radio, so it's an old friend at this point. And we do have our climate controls down below, fan speed off to the left, temperature in the center, and where to send it off to the right. We do have a little cubby with a 12-volt outlet in it. We have the shifter surrounded by fake chrome and wood, although it still looks relatively presentable 18 years later. And we have cup holders, so we'll do a big freaking bottle test, and it fails, unfortunately, but I do like that you can open and close the cup holders to keep it presentable. Then we do get a center console with another 12-volt outlet in there, and the seats. Now, for the XR, there were 2 exclusive seat options. This black leather, which I think looks really, really nice, or the more rare and even more exclusive brown leather. So you could find these with brown leather. Again, Saturn, not really a luxury company, offering brown leather. Very nice to see. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, we're in the back of the 07 Saturn Aura XR, and the first thing I noticed was down below, I actually have radio controls and headphone jacks, as well as pop-out cup holders. We also saw this in the G6, but this is incredibly nice. This is what you see in like Tahoes and Trailblazers. I am blown away that this is in a Saturn Aura, a Saturn product, let alone. Once we are back here, knee room is okay. It does have these big cutouts. If you hold your knees together, it gives you actually more room. Headroom is good. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. This works out really well. The black leather carries on back here, which is fantastic to see. We do have a light, which is helpful on a day like today. I promise you, I know it looks like 6 p.m. It is noon right now. It's just raining. So, unfortunately, it is rather dark outside. But I like it. You know, I had a Pontiac G6 for many years, and this really reminds me of that. I always praise the G6 for having a great back seat, and the Aura is no different. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. So on this rainy Wednesday afternoon, technically, we'll take a look at the trunk. Now, again, like I said with the Pontiac G6 trunk, it's great. You know, the interior packaging of the Aura was fantastic. Nothing really too crazy else beyond that, but if you've ever been curious about what the trunk space of an Aura looks like, well, wonder no more. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of the Saturn Aura. I do have to note that these are aftermarket wheels. They are very clearly aftermarket wheels, and I think that they are horrendous. However, this vehicle was owned by a 92-year-old woman who bought it brand new. So yes, she put those wheels on. The reason for that is that it did have chrome wheels. Wheels in this era, we also saw this with Honda products, they would start to flake and chip, and what happens is that the metal actually breaks down a little bit. They're not structurally unsafe, but they start to corrode a little bit, and then they don't hold air anymore. So her tires were always being deflated because there were gaps in the rim. So she took it to Discount Tire and said, hey, I need new wheels, picked a relatively affordable option, and went on her way, and that's what these wheels ended up being. But let's continue the walk around. I don't love the look of the Saturn Aura. I think it's fine. I think it does a job. I think it's whatever. I don't think it's very pretty, but in this XR trim, I do like it a little bit more. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Saturn Aura XR? Well, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Here's the thing. I'm very divided in my mind. What's in front of me is great. The 3.6 liter really steals the show, and maybe this is my modern brain talking, but I just don't drive a whole lot of normal average cars with above average powertrain. The leather in here is nice. The wood trim is wonderful. I like the orange gauges, not the blinding red gauges that all the Pontiacs got at the time. I have heated seats. I forgot to mention the seats are heated, and they have this really interesting toggle switch where it's 1 or 2. Would you like 1 heats or 2 heats? I think it's held together relatively relatively well for a GM product, although it is low mileage and was garage kept by an older lady. I really, really like this car. It's great. However, the other side of my brain, the conflicting side of my brain, knows that this is so far and away from what Saturn originally meant to set out to do. They wanted affordable cars. They wanted cars that were like no other. They were special. They built a special plant in Tennessee. They were run by special people that had a goal, a motive. And back in the 90s, the S-Series, they were unique. They didn't share many parts with other GMs. The 1.9-liter four-cylinders that they got were in-house built Saturn engines that only Saturn's got. The bodies were made of plastic, unlike any other GM. Their slogan was quite literally a different kind of car. And so then to drive this, well, this is the parts bin special. The radio is from every other Chevy and GM car. All the buttons and knobs and the steering wheel, same as the G6, same as the Impala, same as the C6 Corvette. That engine shared with tons of other vehicles that debuted in a Cadillac, but it trickled down. While this car is great, it does miss that unique edge that Saturn used to have. While it's good, I don't feel special. I don't feel like this car was tailor-built for me, like I used to with earlier Saturn products. And I think that brings up an interesting argument. You can miss the past without scorching the future. Because I miss old Saturn. I do. I miss old Saturn. But that doesn't mean that I have to dislike 2000s Saturn. I say modern Saturn. This is as modern as it gets. So forgive me, but I'm going to keep calling this modern Saturn, even though I know this is 18 years old. I don't have to hate modern Saturn because I love old Saturn. And they could be two separate entities. They could be two separate areas in your head, and that's okay. Because A is good doesn't mean that B is bad. A and B can be great on different playing fields at different times. And that's how I feel about this car. It's great. It's wonderful. It does everything I want it to do. It's nicer than I ever thought a Saturn could be. It doesn't capture the original Saturn aura, wink wink, but it's still a good car. And that's something that I'm going to take home with me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for letting me borrow their Saturn Aura for today's video. They are absolutely wonderful to work with. They always have cool and interesting inventory, and that's why I saw this on their website randomly one night, and I said, I gotta drive it, and I'm so thankful that I did. Please go check out their inventory if you're in the Chicago suburbs. Please come check them out if you're in need of a new vehicle. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.